off to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz, because
Because of the wonderful things he does.
This is the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast. Your hosts are Seth Jacobson and Patrick Heiler.
As we started chapter 22, we're starting chapter 23 with Aradia with us today.
Oh, right,
Say hi,
yeah.
Aradia.
I'm still here.
Chapter 23, Sealed. And our symbol is the snake in the wheel. I don't think we need to talk about that.
The eyes to die. They're doing their plots again.
Light pulled her apart, fiber by fiber, sliced the fibers to hairs that drifted apart, burning, drifting and burning, forever, forever. Egwene stepped out of the silver arch cold and stiff with anger. She wanted the iciness of anger to counter the searing of memory. Her body remembered burning, but other memories scored and scorched more deeply. Anger cold as death. Is that all there is for me? She demanded. To abandon him again and again? To betray him, fail him, again and again? Is that what there is for me? Suddenly she realized that all was not as it should be. The Amerlin was there now, as Egwene had been taught she would be, and a shawled sister from each Aja, but they all stared at her worriedly.
She comes out pissed.
So that's part of the ceremony. I imagine that all these new sisters would be there. So there were already, 5 in the room to do the ceremony? So Elida was there, Shiriam was there, plus the 3 that run the Terengriel. But as she's emerging from the third arch, there's 8 additional Aes Sedai, 1 from each Aja, plus Swan. And I kind of wanted to throw out there that I sort of imagine that as they're assembling, they're like, an accepted is about to emerge, so we do the ceremony with, when we do the ceremony, we have this these 8 additional Aes Sedai, but I sort of imagine they walk into chaos. Like, they think they're going to walk into, like, a traditional ceremony where they all stand there and nod their heads and whatever. And they walk into...
Alana's like yelling, like, get that thing locked down, it's gonna blow! Like,
Swan screaming at the Aes Sedai, like, you better get in there and help, or I'll
gut you like fish. Yeah. Sturgeons.
If you allow anything to go wrong.
Can't hold much longer.
So I'm
It's
sort of
going
imagine
wild.
this scene where Aes Sedai are slowly filtering into the room, a sober ceremony, but they're all working. They're all helping.
Right, you've been conscripted. You're helping with this now.
Yes. Good thing you're here. Get to work.
Join the circle. Feed your power to us. We need it.
Heave!
And we see as she steps out, and Egwene is yelling as soon as she steps out of the arch, screaming about her all the experiences she just had. Shiriam delves her immediately. She's well. The mistress of novices sounded relieved. She's unharmed, as if she had not expected it.
And we see pretty much everyone who comes out of those things yelling.
Yes. Shiriam says, like, no, that's totally normal.
Yeah.
Yeah, they always come
Everyone
out
hates us,
angry.
right, when they come out.
It's like being born. You come out pissed off.
Nynaeve walks out, and she's like, I hate every single one of you. And Shiriam's like, yes, yes.
That's a good point. This very much is a rebirth as Aes Sedai, or at least accepted into the Aes Sedai. Because there's the baptism imagery, there's the, you go in and come out naked, and you come out screaming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, naked and screaming.
Yep. Pissed off that you're cold and exposed to the real realities of the world.
I noticed even Elida lets out a long breath, then hurries away for the last chalice.
Yeah, because she's enough of an Aes Sedai. She doesn't really want to see any accepted get lost or burned out. Like, she might hate Egwene on principle for personality, but, like, she's still a potential Aes Sedai, and Elida, she is committed to the tower in her own fucked up way.
Or they were just pulling
Yeah.
power from her, and now she's tired.
Maybe.
Yeah, there's that too.
The Amerlin emptied the chalice slowly over Egwene's head. You are washed clean of Egwene Alvir from Emond's Field. You are washed clean of all ties that bind you to the world. You come to us washed clean, in heart and soul. You are Egwene Alvir, accepted of the White Tower. The last drop splashed onto Egwene's hair. You are sealed to us now. The last word seemed to have a special meaning, just between Egwene and the Amerlin.
Yeah, you have to hunt the Dark Friends for me now.
Yeah.
And you will follow
the
me.
Freedom.
You will follow me on the
Yep.
seat. Not that she knows that, but it's still good foreshadowing.
Oh, nice.
You're promoted. Now get to work.
Sealed to the flame.
Yeah.
Literally.
And she's graduated from child to daughter.
Swan slips the serpent ring onto her finger, and I noted Egwene says her third finger, and I never really thought about this before. And she says accepted where the ring on their third finger. I was thinking, is that the middle finger?
Yeah.
Okay, because if you count from either direction,
It doesn't matter. It's the third finger from both sides.
I figured it must be that.
I always have seen it as like the ring finger because I don't know.
I did too.
I think because if you count from the pointer over, it's the third. But
oh, okay. So basically, you're saying the thumb doesn't count as a finger,
pretty much.
So you count.
Well, and also
pointer,
I always
middle,
and I always
ring.
saw it as like it kind of like how like nuns or whatever are like married to Christ. Like I always saw this as very like similar to that. Like they're married to the tower. And so
married to the flame, yeah.
Right, and like they're not allowed to marry Mary. So like,
but then what happens when you can wear it on any finger as Aes Sedai? How does that factor into the being married to the tower part?
Well, because then
you don't even have to wear it.
You can marry whoever the fuck you want.
I figure that's when you've been like married for 10 years and you have 2 kids and you're changing diapers and you're just like, I'm not gonna wear this dumb thing. It's just a symbol, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna lose this in a diaper or something. Which a couple of women in my family have literally said that they stopped wearing their ring when they realized that they were, you know, how much poop they were going to have to deal with. It's harder to wash it, you know?
Yeah, I've got it easy. Mine's just tattooed in.
Perfect.
Because I'd always worry about being degloved. That just creeps me out.
Oh, God, yeah, that's an awful thought.
Ugh.
Having the ring being yanked off your finger and taking the skin with it.
Oh, God.
Yeah, my stepdad had that almost happen. Just we were goofing around on a railroad bridge one time, and he, you know, jumped off a thing, and like he almost like broke his finger. It didn't really almost deglove him, but nonetheless, it was like, oh, wearing a ring and being drunk on railroad bridges is not maybe the smartest thing in the whole world. Also, don't be drunk on railroad bridges, kids. It's illegal.
It's bad. Also, you don't know what's at the bottom.
Yeah.
So I think like maybe like a somewhat fragile wood ring, like a carved wood ring, would be kind of cool because then it would like shatter under that kind of force before your finger did.
So back to the Aes Sedai ring. In that really cool trailer that they made for Towers of Midnight, they show it on the ring finger when her hand is going down the horse's neck.
That does make a bit more sense, but it depends on which way you count from and stuff. Like which finger is finger number 1?
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Right, because they don't have the concept of a ring finger in this world because wedding rings are, like, not really a thing. So,
Bambi says your pointer finger is definitely number 1.
Team pointer finger. It's a thing.
So, Third Finger Left Hand is a movie about a wedding ring on your wedding finger. So, I think that, yes, it is your ring finger is what they're talking about.
Hashtag team ring finger. Yes!
Unsmiling, the Emerald pulled her to her feet. Welcome, daughter, she said, kissing her cheek. Egwene was surprised to feel a thrill. Not child, but daughter. Always before she had been child. The Emerald kissed her other cheek. Welcome. Stepping back, the Emerald regarded her critically, but spoke to Shiriam. Get her dry and into some clothes, then be certain she is well. Certain, you understand? I am certain, mother. Shiriam sounded surprised. You saw me delve her. The Emerald grunted. Ugh. I just liked that.
Yeah, Suwan's various communication style.
Unsmiling, the Emerald kisses her on the cheek.
Welcome back, get to work.
Yeah.
And also, she doesn't want to show much affection because she doesn't want, this is public.
Yeah, but you know, it's kind of it could have been a happy ceremony, but I think that
they're worried.
Yeah.
They're worried because something was going on with the ter'angreal and they don't know what.
Shiriam says the mother is worried for you.
And also they were risking Aes Sedai. I mean, pouring more Aes Sedai into a ter'angreal that's malfunctioning is not without risks to all the women involved.
Yeah.
And anyone who's close to it.
And these things are dangerous. Like, who knows what could happen, you know? You have this resonating ter'angreal that seems like it's going to explode, and you just, what do? Pour more power into it?
Yeah, right?
Does that seem like a good idea? You know, like, and we'll never know what could or couldn't be done, but
I mean, the right thing to do would be to take that stone ter'angreal and get it the hell out of there.
Right.
Yeah, well, but nobody knows it's there.
Nobody.
And we did see like Alana has an inkling of why that may have happened, but no, she doesn't know that there's another ter'angreal in the room.
Right.
And I thought she was the one who was stabilizing this thing. Was I wrong about that?
She's the
Was
one
it
who
everybody?
speaks for it. She speaks for the team, but there's nothing that says that she was actually like heading it in any meaningful way.
That's true. I interpreted her as kind of leading the group, but it may very well be that she's just the one talking.
Was she one of the three at the corners?
Yes.
Who were the it was the white, the blue, and the green.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Alana and two unnamed sisters.
Yeah, we
So
don't see the
I
other
imagine
two.
the two unnamed sisters are in a circle with Alana.
Right. Alana's probably the strongest, like in the power.
Yeah.
So that's probably why she's the one that does the speaking.
Alana is pretty high up there, isn't she?
Yeah. I have no idea what it is, but she's definitely high up there.
She's in the top tier of White Tower, Aes Sedai, pre.
This is sad, but I'm
World.
pretty sure it's 16-4.
No, that's not sad. You're just being epic.
16-4. What you're saying is 16th from the top overall position from number 1, and 4 from the top position in the White Tower.
Gotcha.
Was that what that means? I thought it was like
Yep.
something
Guys.
before and after Elaine or something.
Well, there are two scales, right? There's the one scale that was initially the one in parentheses is for just the White Tower, and so like it's number 1, like high, and so that's he had this everyone on a power scale, and then he introduced all the Forsaken and all these super powerful Aes Sedai, and had to come up with another scale to hold them all.
Okay.
Hey, I just went to Google Alana really quick on an unrelated note, and I realized that Alana's a real name because I clicked the wrong link to a regular wiki page.
Oh yeah, it's totally a name.
But also that in Old High German it means precious, and as a Gaelic root it might mean child.
She kind of is a precious child.
Yeah.
But it's always like fair, beautiful, or serene sometimes.
Yeah, I love the name Alana. One of the first fantasy books I ever read was the Tamora Pierce Alana series. So I've loved that name ever
Black
since.
Tower.
Oh yeah, there is a Black. Oh yeah. God, those books are good.
You know what? Because I found the first book in that series in a used bookstore when I was very young, and read it over and over and over again, and didn't realize it was part of a series.
Mm-hmm.
And I only found the series when I was much older,
Aww.
like in college, and so like I didn't really appreciate it because I didn't realize she had more books. But I loved that first one.
Oh.
Yeah, my stepmom was being all like super feminist stepmom and like made sure that I like got that like ASAP.
It was good. The series didn't go where I wanted it to after like having read the first one a lot and fantasizing about what I thought it was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Like it went off in a totally different direction. So
Yeah. Did you ever read any of the other books set in that world?
yes, but I went through them once. I don't really remember them.
They're like some of like my periodic rereads. I'll just like blaze through them like occasionally for fun.
I think I would have appreciated them if I was younger.
Yeah, they
But-
definitely are a bit light for an adult to discover for the first time.
I still reread that first one though.
Fuck yeah, it's such a good book. Oh, that's also the first time I ever saw the name Tom, spelled with a TH. I was so confused by that name for so freaking long. Like Thom?
I thought it was Thom.
Yeah, I thought it was Thom for the longest
I thought
time.
it was Thom for a while.
I don't know if I knew it wasn't Thom until I heard the audiobooks.
Huh.
I was like, who's this Tom guy? Anyway, let's jump back into the chapter.
Whew, okay,
We've
yeah.
definitely gotten a little distracted here. The next thing I had was Elida being prejudiced against Wilders and,
Yeah.
and basically like making Egwene a Wilder just because she doesn't like her.
She makes a kind of interesting point, for lack of a better term. She says to Egwene, I did not want you to be brought forward tonight, not because I feared what happened. No one could foresee that, but because of what you are, a Wilder. Oh, I know you learned to channel under Aes Sedai teaching, but you are still a Wilder in spirit, a Wilder in ways. You have vast potential, else you would never have survived in here tonight. But potential changes nothing. I do not believe you will ever be a part of the White Tower, not in the way the rest of us are, no matter on which finger you wear your ring.
Which is
I thought
true.
that was interesting for a couple reasons. Yeah, she talks about Egwene's spirit, and she's correct in her assessment that Egwene is a bit wild.
Sure, but I don't understand, like, where is she justifying that at all? Is it because she got training from the Shan-Chan?
Because she's headstrong, and because she says, I know that you were taught to channel by Aes Sedai.
That's what how do you call
But-
someone a Wilder when they were taught to channel by an Aes Sedai? That always
She
confused the
says
hell out of me.
a Wilder in spirits and in your ways, which I think, and there's not a ton on this, but I think that that's why so many Aes Sedai have this thing against Wilders, because people who learn to channel not under the tutelage of Aes Sedai seem to be less respectful of the system, maybe? That's the way I see it.
Yeah.
You know? Like, I did this on my own, and I'm going to make my own decisions. But Egwene's not like that. She's not just going to follow everybody's lead.
No. And she's going to learn from anyone she can. She's going to experiment. She's going to, like, try different things. I think that might be the difference, is that all the normal Aes Sedai learn the established weaves, and that's all they learn.
Yeah.
And then you've got the wilder spirit, which is, like, experimenting and trying things out and, like, coming up with new and interesting things.
Right. The second reason I thought that was interesting is because Elaida says, she says, "I will not believe you will ever be part of the White Tower in the way the rest of us are." And she isn't. She never is.
Yeah, it's so
Yeah,
true.
I guess she never really is she only leads it.
Yep.
Right. And, you know, Elaida has foretelling. And I don't want to say that this is a foretelling, but it seems close to one. When I read it, I was like, wow, well, that's accurate.
Yeah.
And we see that a lot with Elaida. Like, she's often makes good assessment of things, or she has a canny ability to collect all the facts, but then she just acts on them poorly.
And comes to the wrong conclusions.
Right, yeah. Egwene mutters to Shiriam, "You could have said something. You could have helped me." "I would have helped a novice, child," Shiriam replied calmly.
I love that line.
Me too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you were a child, I would have defended you, but you're not anymore.
You're not.
Child.
Welcome to the world,
Do
screaming
it
baby.
yourself.
But I thought "it's time for you to learn to protect yourself" was definitely a little double entendre there from a Black Ajah.
And yeah, we even
Mhm.
have the next line. Egwene studied Shiriam's eyes, wondering if she had imagined an emphasis on that last sentence.
Dude, Shiriam drops so many hints about being black. The gray man, like all of these various lies, her nervousness, like, looking back, Shiriam is so obviously black from the very beginning to me.
Yeah.
There's something definitely going on with her.
I was so bummed when I learned that Shiriam was black, like on my first pass. I really liked her as a character.
Yeah. That's her job, is to make you realize that even the most, like, wonderful appearing Aes Sedai could be black, and the most distasteful could be not black.
Yeah, that's what Elaida's for, right? The
Yeah.
second.
Yeah,
Yep.
Shiriam and Elaida are definitely like, I really wish they could have swapped their allegiances, but no, people are complicated.
Yeah, right. Jordan does an interesting job of, he establishes an ultimate good and an ultimate evil, but no individuals are 100% good or 100% evil.
Yeah.
Right, totally.
Like, even Moradin, you're like, yeah, I get it. A little bit of nihilism. Makes a lot of sense.
Right, he's not just...
Yeah, when you hear him explain it sometimes, It's like, well, he does appear to be right. Like, eventually, right? If you roll the dice enough times, you'll roll this incredible unlikely number. So eventually the shadow must win, is kind of his
Right.
deal.
Yeah,
It's a good argument.
he's not just a
Yeah.
frothing maniac. He, like, actually has good reasoning.
I sort of think about, I watched a video about power levels changing in space, that possibly our universe exists at a certain local minimum, and that as the universe decays, we may come to another minimum, and it could happen suddenly in one place. And it's like the probability is super low, but if the right thing happens at the right time, our universe could, like, switch energy states and switch off. It was kind of a weird video. But anyway, the point being that this, like, very, very unlikely thing could happen. It's super unlikely, but eventually somewhere out there in space, it's going to happen, And that's sort of what I think about. Like, that's the dark one. This, like, the heat death of the universe, or the transition to another phase of the universe, long after everything else is gone.
Right, it's like, it's inevitable. Like, ultimately, enough time, it's inevitable.
Entropy.
Right. But then what Moradin doesn't get is that, like, giving up just... what's the point? Like, it's already going to happen. Why would you give up? Like, silly Moradin.
Right. And why go sooner rather than later? Well, he's suicidal.
Yeah. I have a lot of empathy with Moradin, but he's still wrong.
He's a suicidal genius cursed with eternal life.
Yeah.
Dark philosopher.
Yeah. Yeah. who sees nothing but the worst in humanity because he like deals with all these like minions of the shadow who are like way more simple in their evil.
Alana telling Egwene that she wants to do a serious penance, and she's like, I'll do half of your work in the kitchens and go to Shiriam for a beating, which is just what we're going to call it on the podcast now, I think.
Yeah.
A penance is, it's a beating.
It's a beating. Alana is definitely trying to maneuver herself into power. She has, but she's just not very good at it. She gets really curious about the three Taviran and wants to bond one of them and ends up bonding Rand, and like somehow she's very much drawn to them and drawn to their power, and like I think she's watching Egwene.
Yeah, why?
Yeah, maybe.
That's the only reason you think that she's trying to watch Egwene is just because like there's this association with like the three Taviran out of the two rivers. Like, is that like the only reason she's following Egwene or trying to spy on Egwene?
Is how much have we seen Alana before? Do we have any scenes before this with Alana?
I don't think so.
I think just like a hallway sort of scene, like, hey, this is this darkly beautiful green Aes Sedai who
Wasn't she in Faldara?
Right, yeah, like it's just a brief moment.
But so I think that my guess is there that she's, met the three boys and like had some idea of what was going on with them, and like Rand was the talk of the town, and like,
right,
yeah. So that's my guess, is that's why she's interested, because she knows that they're linked to the three boys, and she wants to know more about them.
And she's just like, yes, you can beat me and make me scrub pots as long as I have a chance to spy on someone who's related to these boys that are important.
She also healed Matt.
Oh, yeah, she was part of that. So she's pretty dedicated, almost like a Blue. She's dedicated to the cause of being close to all of this.
And she sort of becomes Varen's partner. I'm not really sure how they hook up. I guess they're both following Perrin.
Well, they both go to the two rivers to look for more channelers, and then Perrin shows up after they're there already.
Oh, right.
But like, come on. They just happen to be in the two rivers? Like,
the excuse is that Moraine noticed a lot of potential channelers there, and so it was like inevitable that someone was going to go check it out. But it's like, really? With everything else that's going on?
We've talked about this before, but like, shouldn't they have like maybe fresh new sisters and be like, here's what you do when you become a sister. The first thing you do is you just go to a random village in a random place that nobody's been to in 50 years and check. Like, shouldn't that be a thing? Shouldn't they be like out there combing
totally
every village in the way Rand does for male channelers?
Right? Totally.
Set up a system to look for them. I
Right.
never understood why that's, well, Black Aja is the answer we tend to come to purposely weaken the tower.
Yeah. And I mean, to be fair, like, Perrin really needs them to be there, so like Taviran twisting, putting things in his path before he knows he needs them.
Yeah.
Aliens guy, it's Taviran.
Alana does kind of use those girls to get close to Rand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She brings them back to Caemlyn, and Rand shows up, and that's when
the
bonds him.
Bonding happens.
Which, like, again, I'm going to go ahead with, like, Taviran, because that is what starts to break him loose from Fane. That, like, starts to dislodge Fane from Rand, is Alana bonding him.
You think so?
Well, there's a passage from Fane where he says that someone else had taken possession of Althor, and so his connection is starting to, like, fray a little bit. And this is before the triple bonding, so it has to have been Alana. So in this really weird way that nobody recognizes, like, she starts the severing process that gets Fane off of Rand's psyche. At least according to Fane's own internal monologue.
Possibly.
I mean, Fane's crazy, so...
I mean, I don't think he's ever
Cool.
really separated.
Not fully, but...
No, he feels like he loses some possession of Althor because someone else has taken some possession. And the timing is Alana.
Sure, but I always thought that was like, now he has like 70%.
Right.
Of
and
Rand,
then the triple bonding happens, so then it's 4-1. So it's Alana's the first.
And I always thought there was something going on with the crossing of the streams with Moradin as well.
Also that, for sure. Oh, yeah, so does does Fane's comment come before or after the crossing of the streams?
That is a good question.
That is a very good question. We got to look out for that.
This next part is where we see Alana saying, but I mentioned this a bunch in the previous chapter, that the only time I've ever seen anything like it was once years ago when we tried to use a ter'angreal in the same room with another that may have been in some way related to it. It is extremely rare to find two such as that.
Which has given us all sorts of clues about how closely the ring ter'angreal is related to Tel'aran Riyadh, and the archways must also be related to Tel'aran Riyadh.
Right. And that Alana noted that it was like the three-ring ter'angreal was melting through trying to melt its way through the ground, and Egwene picks up her stack of clothes and papers and the ter'angreal here, and she has the passing thought, was it warm? And then she thinks, light, I did this myself. Egwene's hand tightened around her pouch.
And yes, it is warm. They're just going to headcanon, it's warm. For sure.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. He wouldn't mention it unless it was.
Right, yeah.
And then she tries to tell Alana that, no, it wasn't your fault. Don't worry about it.
Really not your fault.
It was mine, but she doesn't say that out loud.
She doesn't.
And Shiriam says, a bit vehement. Shiriam's observed, but true.
It's vehement.
Vehement, yeah. What did I get you at the Eye of the World? You're
I said Ori.
Ori,
rather than Arai.
Let's not forget Illumine.
I added a syllable to vehement.
This is what happens when you only read a bunch of these words.
Yeah.
And never really hear them said out loud.
Who says vehement out loud? I'm trying to think of the last time I heard someone say that out loud.
I personally love that word, but yeah, it's not super common. Yeah.
No, it's not common.
Vehemently sometimes. Vehement, not so much.
Yeah. And then we see Egwene turn to Alana and ask her, what does it mean to be Green Aja? Shiriam's eyes opened wider with amusement, and Alana grinned openly. And I just figured that's because she assumes that she was Green Aja in the third ring. So she wants to know, why would I have chosen that, you know?
But I like the reaction. It's like, oh, so you like guys, do you?
And she does. I think Egwene would have been a green.
Sure. She loved Rand. She loves Gawain. She loved Galad briefly, I guess.
Right. And she's really similar to Elaine, who does stick with the choice of green in the end.
That's true. I find it funny that none of them go blue.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we're all set up to be like, oh, the blue is the good Aja and the red is the bad Aja, but none of our main characters go blue.
I always thought this was sort of confusing element, because that would make me think that more women would choose green. And I think correct me if I'm wrong, but it's the most popular Aja, but not by a lot.
The red is the most popular.
I would just think that
actually.
Yeah,
red is the most popular?
Yeah. Green is second.
Yeah.
Huh.
I assume it has something to do with the desire to save the world from male channelers makes the red really attractive.
Fair.
And also something of a nunnery. You have a bunch of women who are raised away from men for a long time. I'm willing to bet that they might be more afraid of men. You know, like there's a certain culture that rises up when you're not around.
Maybe. I would just think it doesn't seem to. Well, that's actually a really good point. But it just, I don't know. It doesn't seem to reflect real attitudes among, if you have several hundred women and say it just doesn't seem reflective.
Well, I said I rarely marry. They are married to the power.
It's true.
There is a certain religious nunnery imagery going on here where the higher power is more important. We just sort of went through the ceremony that we talked about it being a little bit of a marriage to the one power and to the creator.
Right. And then there's Pavara, who thinks that she will do a better job finding dark friends if she joins the Red. So who knows how many other Red sisters had a similar reasoning.
I could see that.
We don't get a lot of nuanced views from some of the Ajas and why they joined it and
Yeah.
Especially the Red.
I guess maybe I'm putting putting too much of myself into this, but I always think if someone's here, you have to train for years, but you can be ridiculously powerful and everything, except you can't date women ever again. I'd be like, well, it's a shame, but I'm not doing it. I'm there's no way. It's too big a part of life, just general life for everyone,
But you only have to put it off for 20 years, and then you can live for another 300 doing whatever you want. So
fair enough. The trade 20 years for not being able to date for most of that time.
Or ever again. That's fine. My social life needs a boost, guys.
I would be, especially at like 15, 16 years old, I would have been like the Elsie Grinwell of the Black Tower.
Totally. Oh, so a little bit before where we're at right now, we have the whole, like, again, foreshadowing of, like, a sister can't get respect while working in the kitchens, and, like, Egwene, like, brings the tower to its knees while working in the kitchens.
From the kitchen. Yeah.
Yeah. That has to have been a scene that Jordan planned out ahead of time, because he references that so many times.
Yeah, like, perfectly, like, word for word. Like, yeah, except actually Egwene can do that. Totally. So he makes it a very big build-up of, like, no, like, our power structure is too firm and too solid, and then Egwene's just like, hold my beer.
Watch me while I hit this ball. I notice Alviarin comes in here.
Oh, where's she?
She kind of makes a funny crack about...
and certainly not like a Red, who despises them, as if every one of them were responsible for the breaking. Alviarin, the White Sister, who had come in with the Amerlin, gave them a cool look and moved on. And not like a white, Alana said with a laugh. No room in her life for any passion at all. I imagine her and Elida going off and, like, whispering in the corner about the Amerlin.
Which they don't actually do until the next book, but who knows?
Yeah, they're hatching plans.
Yeah, we've been theorizing that. Well, Elida's building a case in her mind.
I imagine she's got, like, red string on the wall and, like, pins, and she's, like, connecting things together.
Yeah.
I like it.
And that's, like, with the Swan thing, like, Elida's right on, like, all those counts. Like, Swan, like, didn't consult the Hall, supported a male channeler, did this stuff with the but she executes it all just awfully. She just...
Yeah, and there may be some real reasons to maybe not execute the person who is the real Dragon Reborn. Like, I think that's a decent argument to make.
You have to have the dragon.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't have to like it, but it's bad tasting medicine.
Yeah.
But it definitely pissed off the Hall that she didn't consult them. I think that's really may have put her over the edge. And, the Black Aja. But
right.
True.
Elida's a lot like Pedro and Niall. Like, she thinks that she can win the last battle without the dragon. It's like, bitch, no, you can't.
I wonder how much of that is Fane's influence.
Yeah. I mean, well, she was already like that. But then Fane comes along and, like, seals the deal.
And then after Shiriam makes fun of Alana, Swan makes fun of Alana as well for asking to do penance. But we were just talking about that. But I never heard of such a thing. The Emerald barked.
Barking. I love it.
I also, again, like how ridiculous they think this is, but Elida ends up using it against all of the other Aes Sedai really frequently when she takes power.
Humiliation as a tool to control.
Well, that's because that's the most ridiculous thing everyone can think of, and Elida's like, hold my beer, I will be the most ridiculous Amerlin ever. And then it's like, yeah, that's not working. That's not working at all.
No.
But
it's a good way to put some rebellion into your followers if you treat them that way.
I just want to do a modern politics thing. Trump and Elida have just way too many parallels for me.
Going to build a huge tower.
White tower?
Build a tower all for myself. So back to Egwene.
Swan for president.
Yeah. So Egwene literally is on the brink of giving up the ter'angreal. Like, she's about to say, just take it, I don't want it. And then something happens and she keeps it, and it changes everything.
And that's when she learns that Alana actually did offer to do the penance. And she's like, that's so ridiculous. The only reason I can think of her for doing that is to spy on me.
Yeah.
And there's no way I'm going to, like, give it up.
That's maybe true, but sadly, accepting Alana's help would probably have been beneficial to her.
Do you think so?
I mean, she's a full sister. And she's not black. So there's that.
I think a lot of these sisters are idiots.
I mean, yes, but
yeah,
Alana is not the most effective character.
She's not, but any Aes Sedai ally would be helpful.
She's a useful idiot.
Not that they end up needing it, but Yes, a useful idiot. That's
She's strong, but she's also headstrong. She wouldn't have taken direction from 3 untrained girls.
She's got like all the bad qualities of the Supergirls with none of the like actual ability to like get out of situations. She just makes things worse.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
All the stubbornness, none of the intelligence. Is that
We see Swan send Egwene to bed.
about time?
Yeah, seriously.
You have much work to do tomorrow, and for many days thereafter. Her eyes held Egwene for a moment longer, and then she was striding away before any of them could curtsy. And then Shiriam goes on to berate Alana as well. And then Shiriam also sends Egwene to bed, but not before saying, "If you breathe a word of this, you will wish I had buried you in a field to manure the ground." I liked that one.
Yeah, Elida runs over and hands her everything.
Yeah, which is strange, really. Why does Elida do it?
Because I think Elida was reading them.
Egwene looks, and she sees that, like, the string is still tied and everything seems right. That isn't conclusive in any way, but it...
Untie and retie a string, not the hardest thing in the world to do.
Yeah.
Elida's smart enough to retie the string. She's stupid, but she's not that stupid.
I don't know. Does anyone think that Elida read the papers? What do you think, Aradia?
I don't think so. I think we would have gotten clues from Elida's POV if she did.
I tried to sort of imagine it, and there's like 3 sisters who are working, and Shiriam and Elida are what, just standing there, waiting for her to come back out? So like, she could conceivably have just walked over at any time and rifled through her stuff, but it would have seemed weird.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I feel like Shiriam would have been like, "What are you doing?"
But I mean, it also could have been one of those like, oh, like she's been given, some logic puzzles like Swan is given in New Spring, and maybe, yeah, I don't know. I don't think so, but I'm willing to be convinced otherwise.
I can be argued out of that. I don't see a lot of evidence that she did read.
It could, and it would have given, if she did, it would definitely have given Elida a reason to more evidence against Swan.
That's all I'm saying.
In an indirect way, like, why would this novice, not even an accepted, but a novice, have all this information on the 13 Black Aja members that, like, what is the purpose of this? Surely she's not doing her own investigation.
So Egwene's not trusting anybody, not even the Amerlin, except for Nynaeve and Elaine. She does trust them.
She doesn't want to be alone as she leaves, so she goes to Nynaeve's room. But Nynaeve was seated in one of the 2 chairs, with Elaine's head buried in her lap. Elaine's shoulders shook to the sound of weeping, the softer weeping that comes after no energy is left for deeper sobs, but the emotion still burns. Dampness shone on Nynaeve's cheeks, too. The great serpent ring gleaming on her hand, smoothing Elaine's hair, matched the ring on the hand Elaine used to clutch at Nynaeve's skirt. Elaine lifted a face red and swollen from long crying, sniffling through sobs when she saw Egwene. I could not be that awful, Egwene. I just couldn't.
So what do you imagine is going on there?
Maybe she becomes like a tyrant?
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Me too. Yeah.
I figure it has to be
The nightmare high maintenance queen.
Maybe she tries to sell out Camelin to save it in some terrible deal gone wrong, and then Egwene goes to try to save the Camelin in a battle, or I don't know.
So I imagine her having one vision of like waking up and like, I'm queen, this is wonderful, then walking out and like realizing she's enslaved the people and like, I have to fix this, and then the archway appears. And she's like, oh no, I have to go, and I'll leave my people enslaved. And
right. Or like, what if she like sold out she sold out some section of people like to the Shan-Chan, like to save Andor or something like that.
Sure.
Yeah, I was really curious what you guys and what Discord like could possibly have imagined about that.
That's a good one. If the Shan-Chan reach Camelin, maybe Elaine sells out the... well, that wouldn't quite work, because if Elaine sold out the Channeler, she'd sell out herself.
But maybe sell out the rest of the channelers in exchange for her own safety.
Yeah, to rule Andor underneath them. I don't know. This is all idle speculation, but who knows?
Or maybe just being unjust in a more mundane way, making hard choices the wrong direction and then having that snowball.
Yeah.
I mean, I imagine that Rand would be part of one of her visions.
At
Me too.
least one, yeah. But yeah, I mean, she's really upset about it. It's got to be related to her responsibilities as queen, and probably related to Rand, and probably includes the Shan in some combination.
I would think it would all kind of revolve around that. I wish we could see her accepted test.
God, right? Yeah, we only see Nynaeve and Egwene. Those are the only accepted tests that we see, and it just... I want to know all of their accepted tests.
Elaine's words stripped the buffer away, and what was inside hit Egwene as if the ceiling had collapsed. Rand, her husband, and Joya, her baby, Rand pinned and begging her to kill him, Rand chained to be gentle. Before she was aware of moving, she was on her knees beside Elaine, all tears that should have fallen earlier coming out in a flood. I couldn't help him, Nynaeve, she sobbed. I just left him there. Nynaeve flinched as if struck, but the next moment her arms were around both Egwene and Elaine, hugging them, rocking them. Hush, she crooned softly. It eases with time. It eases. A little. One day, we will make them pay our price. Hush. Hush.
Ah, so sad. What do you think their price is? They never make the Aes Sedai pay. In any way.
You know what I was wondering? Also, Nynaeve flinched as if struck. Why does she react so strongly to what Egwene says?
I think
Is it because of
Her third
She's
vision.
remembering her time in the
her
test.
own,
Yeah.
Yeah, she
that
left
she had to
land.
abandon land?
Yeah.
It just takes her right back.
Yeah.
It's an emotional blow.
I just wonder what Nynaeve is imagining for, like, we'll make them pay our price. Like, what is your price? Like, every other woman in the entire tower has gone through this. Like, what are you going to demand from them?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what specifically she thinks, but we do see a lot of Nynaeve's motivating factor being revenge.
True.
And anger and revenge.
She uses that as an excuse long after the emotion fades.
Yes, I think so.
Mm-hmm.
She's not so stupid that she wouldn't eventually realize, like, why all this is important, why, that there's really no sense in looking for revenge against these people.
She's good at lying to herself, though, for a while. She has to overcome that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the strength of self-delusion is strong with that one.
And I just wanted to talk on record about the title of the last chapter, The Price of the Ring, because we didn't actually talk about it much during the last chapter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We came to an interesting conclusion. So it's the price of the ring on Egwene's finger, but also the price of the ring
The stone ring Terran Real.
Yeah.
So she gets both rings in this chapter, and the price is both the pain she suffers because of the resonance and the emotional trauma that she suffers of,
which purchases her
Aes Sedai ring.
Huh.
Yeah.
I never thought about how there's two rings involved in that. I love this podcast. I love it so much.
My favorite words are, I didn't think of that.
Right? Like, it amazes me. I still don't know everything about this series. Like, I legitimately, honestly, before I found the podcast, I was starting to feel like I'd gotten everything I could out of this series. Like, I've said it before, I'll say it again. You guys literally redeemed my barely flagging interest. I was like, I don't know if there's anything left. And then I found the podcast and, my life is renewed.
There's always something left. Hey, I've said this before on the podcast, but I'll say it again. People spend their entire lives studying the Bible, which is only 1,000 pages? One book in the Wheel of Time is longer than that.
Right?
And there's 15 of them.
Right? And
the only reason I started this podcast one of the reasons I started the podcast is that I was like, well, I know everything there is to know about these books. I can teach other people about them. Oh, little did I know. Little did I know how little I knew.
Yeah, it's amazing the things that some people have picked up on for years that you have missed for years, and then like in reverse, it's just like how so many different people and so many different perspectives of this one story. It's amazing.
Well, and every time I have to argue to justify one of my viewpoints, I'm like, oh, either that doesn't work, or oh, that also explains this, or hey, I never really thought about it in this way before, or just the feedback that I get after we do an episode that people are like, hey, you missed this and you missed that, and I'm like, oh, those are good. That's a good point.
Yeah,
and sometimes it's not always convenient to bring it back up, and in context, it may have been a good point, but I'm not going to really come back to it again. But I do try and keep those things in mind for when they're relevant.
Right. Yeah.
People who are here live definitely get to hear a bit more of our political and religious views, but it's not what the podcast is about.
Yeah. And occasionally we do break down into teams for headcanon, and some of us are just intractably on our team, and that's just what it is. But for the most part, we're willing to debate it out.
That's fine.
Sure. But, it's a fictional universe, and some things aren't knowable. And so that's where headcanon comes from.
Mm-hmm.
Is when you have to make a decision, like, well, something happened to lead to this result.
Yeah. Either there is an answer or there isn't. And if there isn't, which is often the case, like, the power of headcanon will just see you through.
Right.
Thank you for listening to the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast. Rate us in the Apple Podcast app or support us on Patreon. Is that good enough?